Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2026 will please come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Colleagues, Heidi Cater,
Here.
Sheila Pryor,
Here.
Alicia Little,
Here.
Paris Bendy,
Here.
Valentina Ayers,
Here.
Dan Chinestra. Dan Chinestra is present. Milan Sahoni
Present.
and Chase Anderson.
Here. Thank you. We have a quorum. Please rise if you are able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and we have a special guest here tonight. I want to acknowledge our incoming superintendent, Dr. Rob Virgin from Eden Prairie. He's here sitting in the back. So welcome, Rob, and thank you for your time. I'm going to make a brief statement here about the recent referendum that we had before we get on with the agenda. We are glad you could join us this evening. If you wish, before that, I have to announce audience participation as well. So we are glad you could join us this evening. If you wish to speak during the audience opportunity to address the board, please fill out a form placed in the back of the room and hand it over to our district admin assistant, Amy Guy, sitting to my right. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and read my brief statement for the referendum. So before we proceed with approval of tonight's agenda, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the results of last week's bond referendum. The successful passage of this referendum reflects the trust our community has placed in the district's vision and in our shared commitment to providing high-quality learning environments for all students. We are grateful to our community for their engagement throughout this process and to the voters who took time to participate. We recognize that there were differing perspectives in our community throughout this process. We respect those perspectives and we remain committed to serving all students and families as we move forward. I also want to recognize the district leadership team, including our finance and communication staff, along with the broader community members who contributed to this effort. This outcome reflects thoughtful planning, strong engagement, and a willingness to listen. I will be failing in my duties if I do not acknowledge Amy Geis, the district's election clerk, who spent several hours making sure that the elections were run very smoothly. Thank you, Amy. With this support comes responsibility. As a board, we are committed to being careful stewards of the resources entrusted to us and to ensuring these projects are carried out with transparency and accountability. We look forward to the work ahead and the positive, lasting impact this will have on our students and our community. All right, the first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed as a consent agenda item and addressed. This is also true of the meeting agenda as well. The consent agenda and the meeting agenda items are listed in the materials. The recommended action is to approve the agenda and the consent agenda items. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
I would like to propose an amendment to the agenda. I would like to remove the approval of policy 201 and the sunsetting of policy 201. That's agenda item 8A 1I and 8A 2I.
Thank you, Sheila. Is there a second? Anybody want to second that motion for the amendment?
Second.
moved and seconded. So basically, there is a request for an amendment to the original motion to approve the agenda. And is there a discussion on the amendment itself?
If you're wondering why. So I'm the policy committee chair, and we did go over these policies in our last committee meeting. Since that time, we've had some questions from board members, and I just wanted to slow down a little and have some opportunity to discuss things with board members rather than moving forward. So yeah, I'm asking that we not bring those up on tonight's agenda.
Thank you for that explanation. Anybody else
I
here?
have a question. Could we, from a procedural standpoint, could we consider this a first reading?
It's up to the one making the motion.
So we move as a first reading, or I think, yeah.
I personally would like it to be clean, clean it up at the committee level. Maybe is that what you're thinking? Bringing it up at the committee
Well, yeah,
level?
we'll bring it back to the committee for
Yeah.
discussion.
And then come back and see if we can approve that. If not, we can have a second reading on that one as well.
There may be no changes, but there should be further discussion on it. So we would need to have another first reading if we made changes.
Any other comments? Any questions?
So
Yeah,
it's going to be discussed at committee meeting, and if some other board members would like to discuss, will we be able to discuss it during work session? Since typically discussion happen during work session.
Yeah, if we need to discuss it as a full board, then we'll have to discuss it as a full board during a work session. But that may not be necessary.
yeah, that option is this though. Yeah.
Let's call the vote.
Okay, so if there is no other discussion, this is an amendment to the motion, and the amendment asks for the two items from the agenda for the policy approval and policy sunsetting to be removed from the agenda for tonight and discussed at the committee level and taken up again at a future meeting. This is a roll call vote.
Thank you, colleagues. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you. So we go back now to the approval of the agenda minus these two items and the consent agenda. So is there a discussion on that? If not, Eddie, you have?
No.
Sorry. If not, this is also a roll call vote for the approval of the consent agenda and meeting agenda.
Thank you, colleagues. Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, we have an agenda. Thank you, Dan. We have a packed agenda this evening, so let's get going. First, we have reports from organizations. This section of the agenda provides an opportunity for a Wayzata High School Students' Council representative to report on information and events at Wayzata High School. I would now like to invite Owen Piatkowski, Junior VP from Wayzata High School, to please come forward. Welcome, Owen. Did I say your last name right? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Anderson, members of the board, and everyone else here gathered tonight. My name is Owen Piatkowski, the Wayzata High School Junior Vice President. You might have seen me in the past few meetings shadowing Rachel, but as she cannot make it tonight, I get to talk. As we're all waiting on the Mayflowers, here is April's monthly report. Okay, students have just come back from a much-needed spring break, and fourth-term festivities are all in full swing. This Friday, the Student Council is holding its drive-in movie, where they will be showing How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. There will be food trucks and games with both parking and picnic areas open to the community. All proceeds will go to NAMI, or the National Alliance on Mental Illness, a group we started working with a few years ago. The Wayzata Student Council is also sending representatives to the Hennepin Division Conference tomorrow, where multiple senators will be representing Wayzata and running for county-level positions. But the Student Council is not the only group succeeding and sending students to high-level positions. I'm proud to announce that recently, at the Model United Nations Conference, we had 2 Wayzata students receive the highest elected positions at the conference, which they will hold going into next year. At the Skills USA competition, we also had multiple people qualify for nationals. The Wayzata speech team has been having one of its most successful years yet, sending 18 students with at least 1 student per category to the state tournament this Friday. Lastly, our 56 DECA qualifiers have all been working hard in preparation for their International Career Development Conference starting this Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia. Wayzata High School has also been maintaining its title as a AAA school, remaining dominant in academics, arts, and athletics. Spring sports have started off with a blast. Both the Wayzata baseball team and boys volleyball team have both started their seasons undefeated. Wayzata boys track has also had a successful Lake Conference winning relays. Lastly, the golf season is now underway, with their first tournament just happening earlier today. In regards to arts, the Wayzata Spring Play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, will open this Friday and play for 2 weekends in the Auditorium 2 at the high school. The story follows multiple lovers, a group of mechanicals, and fairies through Athens in what is widely considered one of Shakespeare's best comedies. As 4th term begins and students enter into the exhilarating times of APs and end-of-year's festivities, let's keep the momentum and finish this year strong. Thank you for your time tonight, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'm now open to any questions.
Thank you, Owen. Colleagues, do you have any questions or comments? I do know that one of my fellow board members was at the Model United Nations conference, I guess. Yeah. So congratulations to everybody that won in all the different areas, and thank them for keeping the Wayzata flag flying high.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just say congratulations to everyone who participated as well, and good luck on all your exams as they come up in the end of the year. I know it can be a little bit stressful, but you guys do a great job every year. So good luck.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Owen, and we might see you, or we might see Rachel next month, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is recognitions, and I will join Dr. Anderson at the podium.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our school board meeting on this beautiful April evening. So happy that you're here with us this evening. My name is Chase Anderson. I'm the superintendent for the school district, and it's always my honor to convene the recognitions portion of each of our regular school board meetings on a monthly basis. And we have a number of recognitions this evening. And I'd like to thank all of those who are being recognized for being here, their colleagues and family members, and anyone else who's here to celebrate with us tonight. First, I'd like to invite 2 individuals forward, and then I'll read the recognition and share a bit of a script, and then offer one or both an opportunity to speak. At this time, I would welcome Lila Gollum forward and Coach Andrew Hansen. Please come on down. Congratulations. And you might be wondering, what are we congratulating Lila for? And I'll share with you the following. We're proud to recognize Wayzata High School student athlete Lila Gollum for her outstanding achievement. Lila won the Nordic Individual State title at the 2026 Minnesota State High School League Nordic Skiing State Tournament with a combined time of 31 minutes, 38.3 seconds. Her dedication and hard work represent the spirit of excellence we strive for in Wayzata Public Schools. We congratulate Lila on this historic win and celebrate her commitment to her sport and to our school community. Congratulations. And I don't know who wants to speak, maybe both.
Thank you for having us here tonight and having Lila and recognizing her. For a sport that oftentimes kind of goes unseen, we really appreciate the board and Dr. Anderson recognizing Lila tonight. I also want to thank the athletic department at the high school. They put in a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure the season goes smoothly. I'd also like to thank all the assistant coaches and the high school staff. We worked really, really, really hard this year to get Lila the things that she needed to have the success that she had this year. And then also, mostly, I'd like to thank Jordan and Chris. Lila's parents for supporting Lila and helping her achieve her goals. Just a couple of things about Lila. She's hands down one of the most successful athletes that have ever come through the high school program. Just to list off some stats, she's a 3-time conference champion, 2-time section champion, 3 times All-State. 2 years in a row, she was 3rd place at state. And then obviously this year she was state champion. This year, kind of her biggest goal throughout the entire season was for the state meet. It was to be state champion, and that was her main goal throughout the entire season. And it's so cool to think about that goal that you had in mind for the entire season and for previous seasons, looking forward to your senior year, that you were able to achieve that goal. It was amazing. Going into the state meet, we had obviously high expectations for Lila. She had high expectations for herself. And after that first race, like Dr. Anderson said, it's a 2-race day. And, going into that first race, I think we all kind of thought Lila would have a big gap on the field after that first race. But she ended up being 3rd after that first race, and it was a little bit of a shock, and it was a little bit of a challenge to think about what the afternoon race was going to look like. But Lila was able to get in the right mindset, and starting in 3rd place in the afternoon, she made her way to 1st place, and coming into that finish was definitely a highlight of my coaching career. And then to top it all off, we found out that the next week that Lila had pneumonia during the state meet. So she was able to win the state championship with pneumonia. It was incredible. After the high school season, Lila represented the Midwest Junior National Team, where she was where she's been a 4-time All-American at the junior national level too. And next year, Lila's going to be competing at the University of New Hampshire, a D1 program, one of the top ski programs in the nation, not only cross-country skiing, but also in cross-country running and track and field. So very well-rounded athlete. Finally, I just want to say Lila has had an incredible impact on our team. She's a 2-time captain. That's not common at all. We've only had 2 athletes in the last 10 years that I've coached who's been captain 2 years in a row. And she's really shown the younger athletes on the team with the dedication, hard work, and commitment to the program and to skiing, what it can do for you and what it can do for the team. Lila's going to have a very long-lasting impact on our team and on our team culture. So thank you, Lila, and congratulations.
I just want to thank all of our coaches and staff at the high school. Nordic is kind of a tricky sport. We battle hard snow conditions, and Hanson does a really good job of allowing us to shift our training to best fit that. Obviously, every year the snow gets worse, and we spend a lot of time on roller skis or running around and doing strength training, and it's definitely hard to get everybody into the spirit of it, but every day I wake up and I just want to go to practice, and it's my favorite part of the day, honestly. And this past year I've spent over 500 hours training and going to physical therapy and just doing everything I can to be the best athlete. And obviously when I was a 7th grader, I went to the state meet and I saw those girls winning, and I never thought that would be me. And it means a lot that it happened to me my senior year.
Congratulations again, Lila. I tried to get you a couple snow days this year to get out and practice, but the weather just didn't cooperate. But well done. Our next recognition this evening is for our Wayzata High School chess team state champions, and I would like to invite those that are here representing that team tonight, and Coach James Titus, come on down and make yourself at home up here in the front of the board meeting room, and I'll share a brief script and then turn it over to Coach Titus to share a few thoughts about the team and or whoever he may wish to designate to speak on your behalf. We are proud to recognize the Wayzata High School chess team for winning the 2026 Minnesota State Chess Championship. The team secured first place in the K-12 team standings at the state tournament in March. With more than 380 competitors in the tournament, our students showed incredible skill and determination to reclaim the state title for the first time since 2022. We congratulate the team on this impressive achievement and for representing Wayzata Public Schools with excellence. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a great honor to win the championship this year after 3 years of break. Our last 3 years we worked really hard. Every year when we go to the championship, it was very close, and this year was really tough. Teams like Eden Prairie and a couple of other schools were really tough on us, but with our hard work and all the kids worked really hard this year. So I really appreciate all the work they did. You want to say anything, like, or one of the captains can say something?
First of all, I'd like to thank Andrew Titus and Mr. Titus for helping us during the year. They've coached us, helped us train, practice, and just make our team stronger. It's been 3 years since we didn't win the state championship. It's been tough. It's been rough. We put in a lot of work, but we just couldn't get there. But this year, we have gathered our best players, did our best efforts individually, and we managed to get the win. So, yeah, thank you, and thank you for the recognition.
Congratulations again, and really great job. Our next recognition this evening is for our middle school students being recognized for state and national math achievements. I would like to invite Coach Katie Jevry forward, and any students that are here to be recognized tonight for the Minnesota Math Counts state competition, please come forward. Congratulations. I'll share a brief script here before I turn it over to Coach Jevry. We are proud to recognize several middle school students for their outstanding performances at the 2026 Minnesota Math Counts State Competition. Arnav Hiremath, an 8th grade student from Wayzata Central Middle School, earned second place at the state level. This is an incredible achievement for Arnav, especially as this is his first year participating in the program. Brandon Chow, an 8th grader from Wayzata East Middle School, placed 4th at the state level. This is the second year in a row that Brandon has placed in the top 4 in the state. Both Arnav and Brandon have qualified for the national competition. They will represent Minnesota this May in Orlando, Florida, alongside students from Edina and Rochester. At this time, I'll turn it over to Coach Jevry. Congratulations.
I just wanted to take a quick moment to recognize all the hard work that these boys have put in, the hours and hours of practice that they've put in, and the mentoring to the younger students and the other kids that weren't part of the team that actually competed at Math Counts. They have been great role models to the rest of their team, and have just truly been a blessing to work with. We have Rithvik Kethareddy, Arnav, Brandon Chow, Dave Neelamagam, and Sean Zhu. They were a truly a blessing to work with this year and all of the previous years too. Thanks.
And our next recognition for this evening is for our 2 Employees of the Month. And I would like to invite Greg Meyer and Tina Sheldon forward from Greenwood Elementary School. Congratulations. I'd like to share the following script, and then I'll give them an opportunity to share a few thoughts if they would like to do so. Wayzata Public Schools is proud to honor Greg Meyer and Tina Sheldon as our April Employees of the Month. Mr. Meyer and Mrs. Sheldon are first grade teachers at Greenwood Elementary School. We recognize them for their teamwork and commitment to helping each student succeed. Together, they bring decades of dedication to our schools. Greg and Tina are a joy to work with. They pair high expectations with support, grace, and humor. Their work as team teachers creates a classroom where students feel cared for and challenged. One colleague shared, "You have to see it in action to understand the artistry they bring to their craft." Greg and Tina are also part of a first grade team that celebrates growth and supports learners in real time. Their team shows that a professional learning community is a way of being. This connects to how we respond to student needs every day. Colleagues highlight several qualities to make Tina and Greg exceptional: instructional expertise, effective collaboration, thoughtful leadership, lifelong passion for learning, and lasting relationships. One colleague summed it up best: "You can't find a more complete team than these 2 first grade teachers." Congratulations to Greg Meyer and Tina Sheldon for being named the April Employees of the Month. We're grateful for their dedication to our students and the entire Greenwood community. Congratulations.
I'm just going to take one for the team here. Tina didn't want to really come up, and she has lots to say usually, but usually not in front of big groups. But I just want to thank our entire Greenwood community, including Dr. Gustafson, our principal, who was here tonight. We feel very honored to be part of the Greenwood team and accept this award for the month of April. And thank you to the board, and thank you to Dr. Anderson for all you do for Wayzata Schools. So thank you.
Congratulations again, Greg and Tina. I have to say that their classroom is welcoming not only to their first grade students, but also to superintendents who find themselves sauntering down the first grade wing at Greenwood Elementary. The welcome mat is always wide and plush, and I've just always appreciated being welcomed into your classrooms and being introduced to the kids and watching you do your magic in the classroom. Well done to both of you. Our next, and I think our final recognition this evening, is to read the names of individuals who have indicated their intent to retire since the last school board meeting. And I haven't spotted any of these folks here tonight, but I'll read their name, and we'll hold our applause until all 4 names are read. Deborah Huff, Wayzata Cafes, Wayzata High School, 7 years. Greg Krochek, head custodian, East Middle School, 13 years of service. Cheryl Moline, paraprofessional, Kimberly Lane, 19 years. And Ken Pashina, teacher at the high school, serving the district for 14 years. If you could join me in a round of applause for these individuals, please. This concludes our recognition portion of the school board meeting. Thanks again so much for being here tonight. And I believe our next agenda item is going to be the school spotlight presentation. And I'll introduce Dana Miller to come forward and she'll make the initial introduction. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
The light is better. I think she turned something on. Congratulations to the honorees and thank you, Dr. Anderson. Moving on to the school spotlight presentation. Tonight, the spotlight is on Greenwood Elementary, and I will turn it over to Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Dana Miller, for the introductions.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the board, Dr. Anderson. It is my pleasure every time to get to come up here and introduce one of our favorite times each month, and that is our school spotlight. And so tonight we have with us Dr. Brad Anderson from Greenwood Elementary, our principal, and he is going to talk about taking the vision of Greenwood Elementary to the student experience through some of the work him and his team have been leading around some of the district initiatives as far as strong PLCs, implementing our Center for Educational Leadership's 5D plus rubric, working on anchor standards and success criteria, as well as data-informed instruction. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. G, and we'll move forward. Thanks, Dr. Gustafson.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller, Dr. Anderson, Chair Sohoni, distinguished members of the board. It's my pleasure and excitement to be able to share a snapshot of the work our team has been engaged with this evening. And spoiler alert, in the short amount of time we have here, we won't be able to feature every single student and every single team and department, but the couple that we picked represent us really well, just like the whole team does. So we will start with a video. It is 5 minutes long, so this is kind of the main event, so we hope you enjoy it, but it really features the voices, the authentic voices of our kids, and we thought what better way to start a presentation on how we're connecting our vision to the student experience and hearing some off-the-cuff anecdotes from our students. So.
Have you seen this before, something like that?
Yeah, I seen it at the doctor.
Okay, perfect.
Me too.
Good.
What is Greenwood's vision?
Smartness.
It's a very special day today, Emily. You know what today is?
My birthday.
Okay, I was thinking it's the day we're talking about our school vision.
Hello, people. I need a volunteer for some vision testing. Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay, awesome. 4 or 5. Okay, you volunteered for a vision test. Do we know what vision is?
Yeah. That we include people in our games, and if they need help, we help them. Somebody doesn't have a partner in the class, you can go to them and ask if they want to be your partner.
Thinking of the word that describes our school and what we care about. You try to guess it. It's
kind.
Hey, guys, hold on 1 sec. Quick question. 2nd grade, right? Guessing game. What's a word that you think we care about at Greenwood?
Kindness.
Say it a little louder. Kindness. How about you, buddy?
Cleaning up trash in the bathroom.
Can I see it? Yeah. I'm going to zoom in. That's perfect. All right, we're taking the show on the road. Connect with kids about our school vision and how they're experiencing it. Who wants to be in the video? Woo! All right. Come on. Here we go.
What helps me learn in my classrooms is nice people, because I feel less pressure when I raise my hand to get something right.
Thank you. What helps you learn? What helps you belong?
Something that helps me learn is playing music. Playing music at home while I'm studying. It helps me just concentrate a bit more on the stuff that I'm doing.
Any music recommendations for us?
I mean, I usually just go with some like Queen.
Anyone else? Last call. Good. Yes.
Something that makes me learn is positivity.
Woo! Let's hear it for positivity. Excuse me. Quick question. Can I ask you a question on video?
Yeah.
If you could have one word to describe our school, what would it be?
Amazing and fun.
Thank you. That's all I needed. Have a great day.
Very serious conversation, right? So I appreciate your serious help with this. What do you think myself and all your teachers care about most?
Being safe and having fun.
Safe, belonging, fun.
Okay. What, you want to read that?
Belonging.
Belonging? Yeah. Have you heard of this thing before?
It's good.
It's good. Is that Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, here we go. Who is your teacher? What helps you learn and belong at Greenwood? Who wants to go?
Working together.
How do you learn and belong at Greenwood?
Like having fun, like doing some games.
Nice. How are the tacos?
Good.
Nice. Okay. What does belonging mean to you?
I think it means having your friends include you, making friends and like fitting in with other people. I get to participate in a lot of things, kind of like this and stuff like that.
How does your teacher help you feel like you belong?
By taking care of me.
Thank you.
Because Miss Linares helps me learn and read.
Thank you. One word ensures mean.
That's tricky, isn't it? Yeah, I think so too.
That it like makes it.
You did it.
Ensures.
That's it. It makes it. Like a synonym I might say would be guarantees, but same as makes.
Our vision is to ensure. Our vision is to ensure. All students learn and belong.
All right, here we go. This is so... Well, which one? You got to read it.
Love.
Why? Love? Why'd you pick that one?
Because it's love
Yeah.
and
What's going on here, Scotty? What are we missing here, man?
okay.
Yeah.
Can I just tell her? So love is really nice. It's really nice to be in school because love is the school.
All right, should we run that one back again? I think I'm ready for tomorrow. So we thought it'd be really cool just to capture the essence of what's happening. So when we talk about connecting our vision to the student experience, you get to hear through kids what they think we're doing and what they think we care about. So our vision, as you heard, hopefully at some point in that video you heard, we want to be a school that ensures all kids learn and belong. We're not hoping that some. We're working really hard to create systems that ensure every student that walks through our doors, really in every school, I know my colleagues join me in this across the district, that they are learning at a high level in a future-ready manner and feeling a deep sense of belonging. So that's what this snapshot is about tonight. That's right. I've been trained on the clicker. I just forgot to pick it up. Thank you, Amy. So before I continue, just want to share a really quick story, not necessarily to ground this. I just thought it was insightful. So several years, I was in a cafeteria. It actually was not at Greenwood, but I was talking to some educators, and we were just comparing the work that we get to do, coming up with analogies, basically. And one educator stood up, and as she started to share her analogy for the work we're doing, there was a little bit of a quiver in her voice, and the room kind of sensed it and was quiet. And she shared, sometimes it feels like education is an escalator, except the treads are crashing down at us, or they're working against us. And we all heard it and felt it. And like I said, that wasn't at Greenwood, but I felt it too. There are times where this work is really, really hard and we love it. And there's hope here. What we get to do in every space, but also in spaces like this, is just think about how can we flip the switch and have the escalator feel like it's working and connecting everything, and we're seeing that happen, and it takes intention. I know the team at Greenwood is involved in co-creating those systems that are flipping the escalator for our kids and for ourselves. So I'll connect that to a more forward thinking, kind of where I feel like we're at right now. And I know I've shared this before, and I just can't, it's a memory that haunts me in a really good way, but I was on a webinar with MDE like 5 years ago or so. It was an MTSS webinar, and it was good because I'm talking, I'm citing an MDE webinar. Think about that. I'm citing it, but the presenter said, pockets of excellence will not ensure each and every student learns. Systems will. And I never forgot that from that webinar. And that really connects to tonight when we're sharing on behalf of Greenwood, like what we're doing to help each and every student feel like they learn and belong. We're trying to create a system that works together, and it does take a lot of intention, and hopefully you'll see that reflected in a couple of the snapshots from the teams tonight. It's systemic work. It's aligned. We're in it together, and we're really focused on it because we believe it matters. Sorry, Amy also said to turn it on. Sorry, Amy. By the end of this thing, I'll have this figured out. So, what is that system? What does that even mean, the escalator thing? And how do we flip the switch? Well, across our school district, we've been engaged in professional learning community work where we're creating systems that ensure all kids learn. And there are 4 guiding questions that we reference as a school, but also in team meetings over the cadence of the school year. And, the questions are up there in front of us all, but they start with what do we want to ensure all kids learn? And part of that is the essential standards or anchor standards. And we have conversations and consistently check in on, well, how will we know when they have it? How are we going to respond if they don't have it yet? And then what are we going to do to help all kids learn? Because some kids pick up on it even quicker than we might imagine, or in some cases come to us with those prerequisite skills and the skills themselves. So I'll go to the next slide. Here's a way that we connect and make this happen. So this will connect to guiding question 2, what do we want them to learn? One of the things we've been focused on as a district, I know administrators have been trained by the Center of Educational Leadership and 5D Plus rubric over the past several years, and it's been just monumental learning on my part. I've grown so much as an instructional leader. And our team this year, instead of learning and memorizing all 6 rubrics and every space on them, we've focused primarily on P5. So that's a purpose rubric, and it's a lower one, and I zoomed in on it for us. So it's just success criteria. So if you think of that thread of the standard connected to a learning target, connected to, so we identified the target that we want kids to learn, but what does success look like for them? Because to circle back to the escalator analogy, sometimes kids need different size steps to get to the next step. Sometimes kids are, when I was younger, I used to skip steps going up. I can't do that anymore. It's hard to get up one step at a time. But for some kids, it works for them. We really have to scaffold and break down just to make incremental progress. And that's one thing that success criteria can do. So I'll share an example of that. We'll zoom in on what does that look like in a 1st grade classroom? What does that look like in a 5th grade classroom? So to zoom in, our teams in the summer and then beginning the school year, they identify a goal that's aligned to our school growth plan, and which also is aligned to our district mission and vision. This happens to be 1st grade's goal on the right, and you'll see that it's actually segmented into several different kind of sub-skills because kids grow a lot over the year based on just great practice and instruction and responsive teaching. So the standard that they reference at the bottom of their goal is to the left just for reference. But to put that goal in action or kind of make it visual. We'll just go to the next slide. Amy, thank you for bailing me out of the clicker thing. I gave up on it. So this is success criteria, and the success criteria can look like a lot of things. It can be a teacher who's verbally talking and just naming, what it looks like, or co-creating that with kids and inviting them into that. In some cases, we are using ladders that clearly articulate a progression for kids, a skill progression, so that no matter where a first grade learner and reader is with a skill, they can, sometimes with guidance, sometimes on their own, which is pretty exciting and cool too, because that's one of Hattie's power influences, self-evaluation and kids being able to reflect and name where they are and then even talk about their next steps. But that's what the ladders and success criteria can help us do. So in this case, I think it's connected to consonant, vowel, consonant, well, silent E or magic E, or all the things we do to help kids learn and remember and apply it. But that's an example of what it looks like. And then there's a video of a teacher, another just organic video, and you can see her asking one of our students about her learning experience.
How have you grown as a reader this year?
By reading sight words and reading long vowel words. And reading long words by looking for the syllables.
And when we're looking at success criteria, how have our learning ladders helped us?
It tells us what our goal is, and it makes us know what we have to learn.
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty profound. It tells us what our goal is. It helps us know what we're going to learn. And that's also, an empowering practice where the teacher and the principal in the school isn't the gatekeeper of learning, but kids can be aware, and then their curiosity can be focused on their next step and where they are. I think that's pretty empowering. Here's a snapshot of lots of different data, and just in full recognition here, me sharing for a couple minutes about the work of our teams. It is barely a drop in the bucket for the work they do day in and day out and over the course of this school year. But it's kind of nice to give us an idea. But I'm really inspired by what they're doing and the difference they make. But you can see the baseline. This happens to be just from one of the, there's 3 different benchmarks, and then we're moving on, of course, over the course of the year. But you can just see the growth from the intention and the follow-up our first grade team is doing with that focus and with the success criteria, how we're helping kids move, and we're ensuring that they're learning. And that's that connection to the vision. And that is also, I suppose, evidence of a system. Now we're going to fast forward through the grades, and we're going to go and zoom out to 5th grade for this one. And we'll also connect this one to our mission, because all of this connects and there's alignment to it. So I'm going to take a second to read it. Our core purpose: to ensure a world-class education that prepares each and every student to thrive today and excel tomorrow in an ever-changing global society. Emphasis on ever-changing global society. So one of our 5th grade teachers working with her teams prepared a quick snapshot. So I'm going to read it because some of it's very technical, but it's also very inspiring. So hopefully you'll join me in geeking out over this. So this is a snapshot of 5th graders using success criteria as well, because it's a school-wide focus to conduct biographical analysis. During this unit, students engaged in a rigorous study of biographies. Rather than simply memorizing facts, students acted as biographical detectives, using success criteria to strengthen their analytical skills while exploring the lives of influential people. Students completed 2 projects that integrated research, writing, and digital literacy. They selected an explorer to investigate and gathered notes on their explorer's motivations and legacy, eventually synthesizing this information in a comparative writing piece. To share their findings, students used digital tools to create infographics that visually communicated the research in a format relevant to them. I do want to point out the merger of just what's relevant to kids with standards and engagement, cognitive engagement. There's just lots of complicated things at play, and it's really cool. Teachers work very hard to do this in teams to ensure all kids get it, but there's a really beautiful thing when it comes out looking like that. So, and thanks for providing us a chance just to share a little snapshot of some of the intention behind it. We'll take this a step further, because the Standards take a long time to teach and master. So I'll go to the next slide. And similarly, I'll just read a short descriptor, and obviously the success criteria is developmentally appropriate, so it's a little bit different in fifth grade. Their second project is fifth graders engage them in gathering evidence from a variety of primary and secondary sources. Guided by a specific success criteria, they produced a structured multi-paragraph narrative. To build transferable, future-ready skills, students use Canva's AI image generation tools to design custom book covers. By developing detailed prompts, and obviously learning how to do that with guidance from their teacher, they generated meaningful visual representations of their chosen figure. And this blended historical understanding with applied technology skills. Take it home here, Amy. We'll go to almost the last slide. And while this was just a snapshot, this was one way that our school, our team, our school-wide PLC is connecting district vision, school vision to the everyday lived experience of our kids, factoring in belonging, a genuine excitement for learning and having kids learn at a high level. One thing I will mention, and based on a lot of the great questions you always ask, you might have even asked about this, but I was in a recent PLC meeting, and this one happened to be in first grade, and the team was developing a response to an assessment for kids that had mastered the skill and standards, so they were extending the curriculum, and it was just really cool to see the intention, and that's hard to do, and that takes time, but just looking at every single learner in our system based on their skills and trying to factor that in so that based on the team's work, they could go back to their classrooms and also have some exciting stuff that really stretched kids that have the CVC, silent E, and things like that. So with that said, I'll just end by going for the last time back to kind of the escalator connection. Our team, in partnership with our school district and other elementaries across the district, we are working hard to build a system. And it's not built yet, but it is coming along. And it's really exciting. It's making a difference. Our teachers are working really hard and also balancing the importance of relationships and connection and belonging and having it feel good while creating a system that just is responsive to where kids are. So very pleased to be able to present on their behalf, and we would welcome any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. G. Any questions, comments for Principal Gustafson? Yes, Alicia.
I more have comments. Yeah. That was really great. Thank you. First of all, after being right up the road at Kimberly Lane for many years, I know we often were trying to get Dr. Wehrman to do some of the antics that we knew you were doing over there for motivating the students. So thank you for bringing the energy to Greenwood and keeping us in competition with you guys. Yeah. And also want to put on record that I want to make sure you get some bookshelves, because I'm not sure if you heard from the media specialist, but shoving those books at the beginning of the video last week was probably making some of us anxious. So we need to make sure referendum can cover a couple of extra bookshelves over. Thank you for everything you're doing. The kids feel your energy, and it obviously shows.
Yeah, well, we get it from the kids and each other. So thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. I always look forward to your presentation. And the video is telling to me because, first of all, the way that your students engage with you as a principal is really unique. And they seem like they're at home, which is really great because it is their second home, right? Like they're spending so much time with you. And I can tell that. So for me, our equity commitment isn't just a commitment, it's equity and belonging really go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other. And so just seeing that sense of ease and comfort and their ability to articulate themselves really carefully and thoughtfully, the work is being done. It's really obvious to me. Also, your numbers show amazing things. So even in those red blocks, there is growth that's happening, and that's really huge. So thank you.
Thank you. If I may respond, thanks. thanks for noticing the video. And I will say, if you think that is special, when you're in classrooms, kids are even more comfortable and more safe, and it's really, really special. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to see. I also want to point out, thank you for mentioning our equity commitment and just the importance of this is about all of us and all of them and every single, each student. And I don't know if you picked up on it, but just different kids experience belonging differently, and they have different needs, and it's not up to us to assume what they are, but listening to them. And one of the kids, I thought it was also cool, they all said something different in that video, and it was impromptu, but one of our youngest learners said, like, how does your teacher take care of you? She teaches me to read. And when you think about equity, ensuring each and every student learns how to read and wants to read, that is one of the most important things we can do.
Okay. Well, I just have one comment, Dr. G. I will not name the name of the organization, but there is an organization in the education field that has done a lot of research, and they talk about three things that are really, really necessary for development of younger children, especially in the elementary grades. And I remember that as BCC. Belonging is number one. They have to understand the culture. The system has to understand the culture. The staff has to understand the culture that they belong to. And then, most importantly, these things have to be consistent. So you mentioned consistency, where you actually work with other elementary schools in the district. Where are you about with consistency? At what stage are you at? Do you think we are consistent across the system, the district for the systems, or we still have a long ways to go?
Yeah, I guess I would answer probably everything we're doing in our district as a journey. And it's just a really exciting journey. Really quick, the language we're using is, we can name our current reality with anything we're doing. We can also name the ideal state, and we can consistently name where we are, no matter where we are, and where we're going together. That in and of itself is actually a pretty powerful, profound thing, because then we can align what are we going to do to close that gap and address the tension. I can speak on behalf of our elementary principal group, because that's a group that I'm closest with. But the conversations we're having across the board are more aligned than they ever, this is my 16th year here. It's just a really exciting time. And it's thanks in large part to the leadership of Dr. Anderson, Dr. Miller, and the whole team. I shouldn't have started naming, but the teaching and learning team, the teachers, and the hard work. It truly takes everyone, and when we're working together and we're focused, really cool things start to emerge. So, as far as consistency across schools, it's a journey, and we're all working towards that ideal state. But I'm really proud of where we are and where we're going together.
Okay, thank you so much. There are no other comments. Thank you for coming, and wish you luck, lots of luck with this endeavor. And please come back again when you have more information to share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next is the audience opportunity to address the board. Amy, do we have any? We do not have anyone who has expressed an interest in speaking to the board this evening. Okay, moving on. Let's see what the next item. The next item on the agenda is the administrative reports and recommendations. First, we have Dr. Anderson presenting one board policy for approval.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, as you're aware, the agenda was amended to exclude policy 201 pending further discussion. So there's only one policy before you this evening, and that is policy 209, School Board Code of Ethics, and it's presented to you this evening for your review, and the recommended action is on the agenda sheet.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. Board colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the board policy 209 as presented. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve, and I suggest we waive the second reading.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, this is a voice vote, so I'm going to ask everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion passes. Thank you to the policy committee for your due diligence. There are no teaching and learning reports this evening, and so moving ahead on to the finance and operations report presented by Executive Director Trevor Peterson. Trevor will first present. Is it Jack? Okay. Jack will first present. Jack Stearns, the Director of Finance, will first present. Trevor, are you not presenting the financial reports first?
Yeah, no, I'm going to defer to Jack. He's going to stay up there, follow that up. So, yeah, certainly.
So Jack is going to be presenting the combined financial report for the month ended February 28, 2026. Jack.
Good evening, Dr. Anderson, school board, and thank you, Trevor, for this nice little warm up before we get into the fun stuff for the budgets. As Dr. Sohani said, or as Chair Sohani mentioned, that these are the February 28 or 2026 financials for the month end. First is the statement of revenues. As you can see, most revenues are coming in right where we expect them to at this time of year. Property taxes are right in line, as well as state aids. State aids are metered, so we'll see more of that coming in as the months go on as we get closer to the end of the school year. But they are right in line with previous fiscal years. You'll notice with federal aids that last year we did have 18.2% actual to budget by this time of the year. That was due to the ESSER funds, which had to be spent by a certain time and drawn on throughout the year during 24-25. Due to not having these funds in 25-26, that's why you're seeing that the percentage dropped from previous year. And for the next one, for miscellaneous local revenue, this one is a little bit lower than previous years, or previous year more specifically, and this is just due to our interest revenue. I'll be getting into this during our revised budget presentation for why this is decreasing, but that's why that decrease is there. Next up, looking at food service, community service, and our debt service fund, all these are coming right in line. So total revenues to date are just over $185 million. Oh, thanks, Amy. For expenditures to date, you'll see that salary and benefits are right in line as well. When it comes to things like purchase services, capital expenditures, supplies and materials, these kind of are more of a flowing budget throughout the year, depending on when things are expended, when projects are going on, this, that, and the other. So everything is coming in right where we expect it to by this time of year, but that is why you're seeing some various percentages year over year in those categories. But bottom line, when you look at total general fund expenditures, we have spent about, we are at $127.8 million, and all year to dates are looking right in line at 53%. And then for other funds, food service, community service, and debt service, those are all coming in line as well. This is a newer report that Trevor and I added to the monthly board financials, and this is just another way of looking at our revenue and expenditures. We broke it out by restricted and our unrestricted as well as restricted funds, just to get a little bit truer picture of those funds that aren't restricted by the district. So as you can see, unrestricted revenue is right at $121 million, sitting at 57.9% budget to actual, which is right in line with previous years. And similar for the restricted funds, those are coming in line with previous year's expectations as well. So overall, general fund revenues are about 61.6%, as I mentioned on the previous tab. But this is just another way of looking at it with the tech levy, long-term facility maintenance, and operating capital broken out from the unrestricted. And then similar for the expenditures, we've also broken out the unrestricted and restricted expenditures there. Similar to the previous tab, everything's coming in line right where we thought it would be for this time of year. We do have the revision presentation coming up here, but coming up next where we'll kind of talk about some areas we tweaked. But overall, everything is coming in right where we thought it would for this time of year. Oh, yeah, it's already switched. And then finally is our cash balances. So this is our general fund, our alt facility bonds, and our capital facility bonds. This is the current cash on hand. I will point out the yield. You'll see that our yield is right about 3.63% for PMA, 3.55% for MISLAF liquid, as well as the alt facility bonds liquid, and then the 3.65 for our max accounts. This was to be expected throughout the year. We did have higher interest rates last year than this year. They're about half what they were last year. So with that lower interest rate, that's one of the reasons why you'll see in the budget presentation why we did drop that revenue expectation down. But this is where the market's at currently, and we'll see what happens in the future. But overall, total general fund cash on hand is $52 million, just a little over to $52 million as of February 28th. And then our alt facility bonds still have about $550K left sitting there in that investment account for future abatement projects for pavement and things like that. And then the capital facility bonds at the bottom there are for the 2025A project going on at West Middle School. Any questions with the financials?
Thank you, Jack. Your light is on, Dan. You want to ask? Excuse me. Any question? I do have a question, Jack. The slide where you had the fund balance, sorry if I missed it, but was there an unrestricted fund balance percent on there, or was it just the amount?
Not on that slide. I believe I don't have it up anymore, but I don't think I don't think there was a percentage on there to date. It was just showing the actual unassigned or actual total fund balance as of 2025 year end and our projected 2026 fund balance.
What percent do you think that is of operating expense?
Of operating expense, this projection is probably showing right over 11%, so maybe about 11%.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was my only question. If there are no other questions, we'll move on to the next presentation. Are you going to be presenting the fiscal year 25-26 general fund budget with Jen, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
So this is our 25-26 revised budget. I'm very happy to be up here with Jen Welk. She is amazing with our enrollments and everything that goes into that. So it's been wonderful getting to work with her more closely and put together this presentation for all of you. So when it comes to the general assumptions for the budget, we looked at the budget trends based on our final 24-25 data, as well as our year-to-date 25-26 revenue expenditures. So we look at where things ended up last year, and then also look into the revenue expenditures for 25-26 to get a truer picture by looking through most of our expenses. I think we went through almost all of them this year just because of the changing of the guard, as you will, in the finance team, but it was a fun process. Additionally, with the general assumptions, we look at the employee salaries and benefits, just in case there was any contract settlements that didn't occur at the end of last year. The 25-26 prelim budget was approved in June of 2025. So there's some things that change between there and now for salary and benefits. So we look at those as well. And then also we look at the enrollment projections and update those as necessary.
So this slide shares with you our district's ADMs and pupil units. ADMs are the portion of the school year that a student is enrolled in the district. So that's the blue bar there. And then the gold shows the pupil units because we get a higher weighted factor for students that are grades 7 through 12.
So here is our revised budget. On the next few tabs, on the next few slides, we'll go more into all these items, but this is just a straight picture of our revenue expenditure budgets. On the left side is the preliminary budget that was approved by the board in June of 2025. The middle column is all the various budget adjustments that we decided to make. And then the far right is the revised budget. So as you'll see in terms of the unrestricted revenues, we would like to add about $5.7 million there. We're going to be decreasing the restricted revenue by $30,000. On the expenditure side, unrestricted expenditures, we are revising it to $4.8 million higher than the prelim budget. And then on the restricted expenditures, we are going to be dropping that by $34,000. So that brings our unrestricted revenue up to about $215 million, total general fund revenue to $237 million. And then on the other expenditure side, that's going to be increasing our unrestricted expenditures to just a little over $211 million, and then our restricted expenditures to $31 million. And then on the next slides, we'll go into it more. So here are all the assumptions that we made for that revenue budget. Starting off was the property taxes. We know exactly what that number is going to be based off of settlement reports. So we increased our property tax revenue up to actuals. By this point in the year, we've received all that revenue for the most part. There's one more small payment in May, which we'll still get. We know exactly what that amount will be. So we increased the revenue budget to tie to true income coming in. State aids, we did drop that by about $210K. This was just due to the prelim budget, the enrollment we used for budgeting, the numbers didn't quite come in what we budgeted at prelim. It was a little bit lower. So based on that, we had to drop our state aid revenue down just based on those, I believe it was kindergarten through early elementary enrollment that didn't come in. So that's what that decrease is. The next line is the $4 million addition for special education aid. Special education aid for state aids is a little bit difficult to budget for each year based on that what we receive is based off of prior year expenditures. So when you're doing the prelim budget in June, audits wrapping up in November, and then the state's using those November final numbers to determine what you're going to receive for special education state aid. Most of the time when it comes to the prelim budget, individuals are a little bit more restrictive with their budgeting until you know what that revenue is going to be. So that's what that revenue increase is for there. Here's what I was talking about during the revenue expense conversation was the interest income. We did drop that by about $500,000. This was due to, as I mentioned, last year we were getting about 6% on our yield for our investments. This year we're getting closer to that 3.5. So due to that and the timing of seeing that interest decrease, by this time in the year we can project where we're going to end up. So we decreased our interest income to match. Student activities, we added a budget for the revenues for this. You'll also see it on the expenditure side. Whenever there's again, kind of like we were mentioning earlier, whenever there's a kind of a change in the finance team, there's a new way of looking at things. We wanted to budget student activities where we thought they should be in line with for the district. So we budgeted those at $679,000. And then we also sold some equipment this year. And since we knew what we sold, we increased the budget that we were originally expecting it to come in around $200K. We actually sold it for $400,000, so we increased that budget as well.
And then the increase for federal aids is just receiving our final allocation for all federal grants.
So next on the expenditure side, we did add $2.8 million to salaries and benefits. This again was just kind of due to the timing of when contracts were settled. We had expectations built into the prelim budget, but then due to where those salary and benefits actually ended up based on contracts, we increased that budget. And then you'll notice various purchase services and supplies, budget adjustments. These are really all due to enrollment growth. Whenever there's increased enrollment growth, you're going to have increased repairs and maintenance, some increased transportation and utility costs. There's some site adjustments in there just based on if there's more students. We do provide more supply and materials to those school sites. So a lot of these expenditure revisions are really related to that enrollment increase that we saw this year, as well as really the salary and benefits. So overall, all these items, a lot of work went into deciding what made the most sense for these. And in total, our total expenditure changes were about $4.7 million. So that gets us to the fund balance slide. The preliminary budget that was approved in June was projecting that revenue over expense for the general fund was going to be right around $3 million. Based on our various adjustments and reviewing the numbers, we're projecting it to come in a little bit closer to a little over $4 million for our fund balance increase. So this will move us from the 11.55% in fiscal year 25 final to a projected fiscal year 26 at 12.5. There are some factors that could change this figure. There's various audit journal entries and things like that that come in closer to year end, which could change this amount, but this is our best idea at the time of where we think we'll end up. Moving on from the general fund will be our construction fund. With the 2025A bonds, those were not originally put into the prelim budget, but then since we did sell the bonds, we know that we're doing the project because the music suite looks awesome. We did add that into the budget, so we added the about $6 million in issuance of bonds to the revenue side. The investment earnings is our best assumption of where we think, of the amount of interest we think we'll make on those bonds. On the expenditure side, we just made those tie out to the issuance because the assumption was that the whole project would be finished this year. So we just made the revenues and expenses tie for that. And then the preliminary budget, that $1.8 million is just the abatement bonds that we've been spending down this year. So within the construction fund is the abatement bonds and the 2025A bonds. So we only increased the budget for the 2025A bonds. And then next up is our debt service fund. And this was just more so me. I noticed that there was one smaller debt service payment that didn't make its way into the prelim budget. I'm kind of an exact guy, so when I saw that wasn't in there, I wanted to bring it to you and add it just for when I'm tying out the debt schedules. I'm like, oh, it matches budget perfectly. So that's what this revision's for. There was one interest payment when the prelim budget was set that wasn't included. So. Any questions?
Thank you, Jack. Comments, questions? Paras?
No questions, just comments. So this is great. And I know, Trevor, you shared this with some of us as well as with CFAC committee. So again, I wanted to take that opportunity and call it out again, that Wayzata has received the Excellence in Financial Reporting through Association of School Business Officials. And that obviously kudos to you all. You talked about preliminary budget we have to finish before beginning of July when we don't know what the enrollment number looks like. Jen does excellent job in terms of tracking it every month. And then obviously you talked about the reimbursement revenue for the prior year. That doesn't come until January. So with all those uncertainties, setting up the preliminary budget and then where we are with the revised budget, the revenue is less than 2.5 variance, and for expenditure is less than 2% variance. That's awesome. So anything that you guys are doing to forecast it, that's really working well. Number shows that, and the audit report and the external certification bodies, they are also vouching for that. So again, kudos to the entire finance team. Great job. Thank you.
Okay. I have some clarification questions. So if you're going to go back to the slide, the one that had the miscellaneous interest, I think it was like 500,000 or something. One right here. So miscellaneous local interest income. Any of that from the MISLAB funds, or is this just aside from that, or is this all from MISLAB funds?
Yep. So this is all going to be from the MISLAF funds.
Okay.
So it's mostly in the max class account where we try to keep all of our cash until we move it to pay payrolls and various check runs and things like that. But yes, we did see a pretty almost half a change from where we were at last year compared to this year, and we just kind of watch it trickle down throughout the year. So I think our highest was just over 6% interest on all that, which was really, it was very helpful for the district. And then kind of watching that decrease over the course of the year. And now, since we were doing this budget, we had a little bit longer to do it than previous years, but we were able to project out what the next 3 months would be. And We had budgeted about just over $3 million originally for our interest income, and then we dropped it down to just a little over $2.5 million.
Okay. If you want to go to the slide that shows expenditure. Okay, so that first line there, employee salaries and benefits, I heard you say this was mostly from the negotiated contracts. Would it be fair to assume then that any of this was not related to hiring of more teachers?
So when we put together the prelim budget, we project out any hires that haven't been made yet. So we work with HR to figure out what the staffing is going to be for the next fiscal year. So we had a pretty good understanding of who was going to be hired, and we put in positions that we're assuming we're going to hire for. So almost all of this was related to the contract.
Okay. And then one final comment attached with the question. So 12.5% fund balance for the unrestricted funds, right?
Yep.
On that chart, would you agree that the state of finances for Wayzata is pretty healthy right now?
Yeah, I would say overall, I've really enjoyed working here because it's probably been the best place I've worked, and it's because of the people that are here. We have great program leaders all over the district. We have great teachers. I think everyone who's here wants to try their best and really show the Wayzata way, and I think that reflects on our finances as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, that relates to the enrollment increase, right? I mean, we just keep growing, and that's great news. So thank you for everything you guys do to help us along. So
yeah,
there are no other questions, comments. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jen. We'll move on to the next item. Still on finance. This time it's going to be Wayzata Cafe's Food Service Fund Fiscal Year 2026 revised budget. And Jack will present that as well. Jack and Michelle, sorry.
Good evening.
Okay, so next budget. So this slide we like to put into our presentations for food service or the Wayzata Cafes, just to show that they are truly their own fund within the district. All their revenue is generated from meal sales, and then they have their own salaries, benefits, food. So really just wanted to show that it's separate from the general fund.
Looking at our school year so far this year, believe many know, but we did a nice big infrastructure update, mostly at the high school. That was our high school freezer expansion and cooler addition with increased enrollment. Our back of the house, which is referred to as the kitchen part, you probably don't see when you're in the cafeteria. We're needing some more freezer space. So we did take a locker room and transition that to a cooler, a walk-in cooler, and then took another walk-in cooler offline, knocked down a wall, and expanded that freezer. So that was a big project that was done this summer, and it was up and running before the start of school. Next, our high school salad and sandwich serving area. Again, more students coming through our lines. We want to keep our offerings the same, but we needed more space. So we did do an expansion and moved one of our serving lines into another part of the cafeteria right behind our a la carte. And that it opened up a little bit later than we wanted to in the school year, but it's up and running and as of January, and it's doing well. So it's fun to have that up and running, and turned out to be a beautiful space. So lastly, we did just a replacement of a rotating rack oven at Oakwood Elementary. So as our schools continue to age in other areas, so does the kitchen and so does the equipment. So there gets to be a point where we just try to chip away and replace what we can. Looking at our menu of what we continue to do, we have truly enjoyed, this is our second year of our elementary student choice days, and being able to engage with those students and have them pick the menu has been fun. Kind of piggybacking off of Dr. G's Greenwood video, we get to be able to see those students and interact with them at a more personal level and have them pick the menu, and it's always fun and exciting to see some of the ideas they come up with. And secondly, we continue to just expand our cultural food options into our menus. So each year trying to see what other cultural items, food items can we look at introduced to our students. And again, we always like to take that look of, are there any local vendors that are making these foods that we can tap into? There are experts. They're doing it on a daily basis as part of their business. So we like to see who we can partner with and expand those options. And then lastly, just as always, we like to always continue to apply for the Farm to School grant. We did receive that again for next school year. So that is something that we look forward to continue. We do that regardless, I think, if we get the grant or not. It's just another nice little bump in that revenue piece to support the Farm to School.
So similar to the last presentation, here is a slide that's showing the preliminary budget, the change, and then the revised budget that we're bringing to you today. As you can, and then similar to the previous presentation, we will be going more into that, in depth into this on future slides. So, but just high level total revenues, we're adding about $200,000 to the budget, bringing the total revenue budget to $10.5 million. And on the expenditure side, we're adding a little bit to salary and benefits to bring those up to actual expectations, and then no changes to the food expenditures. And then for other expenditures, we're dropping that budget by $408K. So that will bring the total expenditures to $11.2 million, changing the revenue over expense from $1.2 million at the prelim to $700,000 at revised.
Looking at the revenue, as you know, just like we were talking about with the general fund earlier, we do our reimbursement rates from the state and federal level. We budget that in the prelim as to what we know in that current time. Our rates for the next school year typically are not released until July of each year. So we did adjust our reimbursement rates based on the actual reimbursement state and federal revenue we're receiving back for each breakfast and lunch. Our average daily participation at our elementary, middle, and high school continue to stay pretty steady. With our elementary, the 80 to 85, middle school to 80 to 83 students, percentage of students eating with us each day, and then our high school at 77%. So they are very good participation rates. So we are thankful for our customers each and every day. And then our meal sales a la carte are averaging about $8,300 per day. This includes adult sales, our preschool meals, and our snacks that students are buying. This is down a little bit this school year, which we didn't anticipate. But on the flip side, our meals are up and that revenue piece is up. So we just needed to adjust to the current reality of where our meal sales were sitting for this school year.
And then on the expenditure side, I gotta say, Michelle and I hit it out of the park this year. We were within our original budget of $32,000 for salary and benefits, which was really exciting to bring that up just a little bit. That makes you feel good when you get close to your budget or where you're assuming your budget's going to end. So that was really nice. Our biggest budget change was actually for operating equipment. At the time of this budget, back in the prelim budget, we were not 100% sure where those projects were going to come in at the West High School or the Wayzata High School. And due to that, we budgeted high just based on we weren't sure where the bids were going to come in for the project. So we were really excited that we got to drop the expenditures down by about $400,000 for those projects to save some of Michelle's fund balance, because we knew going into this year the expectation was going to be spending some of her fund balance on the high school projects. But it's always nice when we get to revise it in the correct way and save some money. So, and then the rest of there was a couple other miscellaneous changes that we made for the revisions as well in terms of service fees, supplies, and health inspection fees. So that's where we get to the fund balance tab or slide. We ended fiscal year 25 at $2.8 million, which was just about 3 months of operating expenses for Michelle on the budget side. And then for fiscal year 26, we're projecting to be about $2.7 million for the fund balance, which is still very, very healthy and a good place to be. Based on where we were thinking we were going to be here at the beginning of the year to now, we're really enjoying that number. So.
And that is our last slide. So we'll open it up for any questions or comments.
Thank you both. Questions, comments? Yeah, Dan.
If you wouldn't mind going back to the slide that had the farm to table grant piece on it. It was a great conversation in committee, and I really appreciate your presentation. If you could share what firms, organizations, departments are awarding those grant dollars.
So the Farm to Schools grant is through our Minnesota Department of Agriculture and Minnesota Department of Education. So that is a grant that is Minnesota funded, and very thankful that we do have that grant available to us that we can apply to it each year to support our local farmers and producers.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a few questions. Can you go to the slide which shows the expenditure break? Oh, I'm sorry. Did not see your light.
Question I have, it's about, I'm working myself at school and I see how much food is being wasted, to be honest, at breakfast. One of the things I wish that at top level we can discuss that needy students need to get food, but others, that money can be used for something else, like helping with reading and all. But with cultural food, I am myself from a different culture, obviously, and I'm experienced when you bring food, sometimes different cultures do not want to try. So I learned my lesson. I do not bring some food which people, when they even look at it, they feel like, I'm not sure about that. So how do you balance introducing culture food, but at the same time not wasting?
It's a good question. Part of that is taste testings that we try to interact with students. Sometimes too, if we don't have the opportunity to do a taste testing prior to the day of the event, we'll see like our alternative grab and go option, maybe those counts be a little bit higher. So on those days, we encourage our staff to just go around and still offer students a taste. So even though they might be selecting a different meal choice that day, to still engage and interact with the students and say, hey, do you want to try this sambusa that we have on the menu today? So maybe next time they're more likely to pick that option. So again, it's just engaging and having those conversations with the students, and as much as possible, do any prior taste testing and engaging before it is on the menu. Yep.
And one more, I think that I asked in the past, but I would like to see if you, looking at percentage, high school is lower participation. You would think teenagers, at least looking in my household, would like to have more food. Mm-hmm. But why is the percentage participation is lower? Is it because they're purchasing from a la carte, or?
I think it's a combination of a la carte. They might be choosing to get a meal through a la carte that's not part of a reimbursable meal. We have a lot of students, I think, that go off campus for, PSEO classes. And then also at the same time, like high school testing, they just had like ACT testing, MCA testing. So on those days, not all the students are on site. So that impacts our overall percentage of average daily participation, because that's still considered a school day for us. So even though that we might only feed 500 students those days, so that does impact that percentage too. Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have that question in my list here, but I'm going to jump on to what Valentina said earlier about food wastage. Do we do data mining with the help of Director of Technology, Wade Phillips, where you feed data about what kind of food is liked by a certain number of students, and based on that, you create a history, and then do you plan accordingly based on that?
Mm-hmm. So yep, we I have to call out Jenny because I know she's my blue friend back there that likes the details and the trends, but I watch our meal counts on a daily basis. And so we will go back to and we'll look, so like next year we're menu planning for our meals, and we'll look at what are our lower count days. Do we need to rotate those choices off more frequently, or maybe just offer that choice in the winter months? Are they getting tired of it? So we do watch those trends, and really the students coming through the lunch line is the best data that we have to be able to see what they are liking or not. The other one is just, again, engaging with the students. We have high school students that work for us over lunch. So a lot of times we'll be like, hey, come and taste test this new recipe. So it's really easy to have them right next to us taste testing those new recipes also.
It would be nice if the kids could basically tell, mark off somewhere, this is what I ordered, but this is what I threw in the trash. So you would know what was really asked for, and then they really did not eat.
Yeah.
That would be nice, but I don't know if that's feasible.
Yeah, and food waste is always a hot topic, and especially elementary, they get 20 minutes to get through that lunch line and sit down and eat their meal, and that's their social time, that's their fun time of the day. So that food waste is always a battle also of being able to utilize it. There's share carts in the cafeterias, so there are share carts, share tables, where if someone doesn't want to eat something, they can put it on there. So if they don't want their apple, they can put it in there, or they don't want their cheese stick, and then a student can come by and grab it if they want to eat it then or save it for later.
Yeah. Can you go back to the slide where you had the expenditures, corrected expenditures? There was one that had a reduction of $400,000. Okay, yeah. Right there. So from under other, minus 408 out of 2.4 million, that's a big amount, right? That even as a percentage, what constitutes that other?
Yeah, so most of the other is operating equipment. So about $400,000 of that other is the operating equipment based off of the high school project that was going on. So when we first went up for bids for all the equipment for the new serving lines and the walk-in freezer, we weren't 100% sure where the bids were going to come in going into, preliminary budget. So we budgeted high for those projects because when it comes to the food service program where everything is state and federally reimbursed, we wanted to know budget as restrictive as possible to make sure that we knew what could happen to Michelle's fund balance. Luckily, when the bids came in, they did come in lower than projected based off of where we were thinking they were going to come in. So that's what the $400,000 is.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, very good. We're happy about that.
Yes. Going back to the average daily participation, I'm sure you cannot ever expect to go to 100%, right? Are these numbers better than before the free meals were introduced, or about the same?
Yes, they are. We are staying steady. So when Minnesota free meals were introduced, we did see, you're testing my memory now. But I would say like our elementary participation was more in the 75 to 80%. Middle school was kind of around that same, and then high school was more probably 65 to 70% participation. So Minnesota free meals did have an impact on participation. Mm-hmm.
On the higher side, good.
Mm-hmm.
A la carte sales again, are they now less or more than when we did not have free meals? Maybe approximately. I'm not.
A la carte sales. Okay, so this one is a little bit harder because before our meal sales, when meals were paid, those meal sales. So if you paid $360 at the middle school for a lunch, that was tied into the meal sale overall in this category. So I'm trying to just. I would say a la carte sales have gone up, but just a little bit. But that's also in part to that the price of items have gone up a little bit because the expenses to us have increased. So they are pretty much the same, if not a little bit, I would say a little bit higher for just a la carte.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to maybe go back and look at that specifically.
Okay. Mm-hmm. With the free meals that started 2 years ago, most of the meal sales are from a la carte, right? I mean, there is no others.
Yes, yep. Most of this is a la carte. Adult meal sales are wrapped into that too.
Okay.
A la carte are second entrees.
Okay. And then the fund balance, I think we talk about it all the time, that fund balance cannot be transferred to the general education fund. You can take money from the general education fund, but you cannot transfer it there. So do you know of a board policy that says we have to have a minimum fund balance, just like we have for the general education fund? Is there a policy from the board? You are at 3 months fund balance right now, right? 3 months operating expenses.
Yes, and I don't think it's in any board policy here. That's Minnesota Department of Education guidance for O2 funds. Is you want to be around that 3-month operating expense, and then if you are or you're higher, then Minnesota Department of Education actually comes knocking on your door and they're like, how are you going to spend this down? So what projects are you going to implement? How are you going to invest this back into the school? So they do watch that, and they don't like the O2 fund to build too high.
Okay.
They want to see that spent.
So they are Wayzata Cafe's board, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all I have. Anybody else have any questions, comments? No. Thank you both. I appreciate the presentation, and great job keeping those fund balances high. Okay, and now next we have Director of Community Ed, Jenny Ebert, who will present the Community Services revised budget for fiscal year 2026.
Good evening. I'm Jenny Ebert, Director of Community Ed. Thank you, Dr. Anderson and the school board for having me here tonight to talk about the revised budget for the Community Services Fund, which is Fund 4. Similar to the slide you saw for Wayzata Cafes, we like to highlight that the Community Service Fund is a separate fund different from the general fund. We cover the variety of programs that you see listed there for Community Ed. And just as grounding work, I always like to pull up my Community Ed slide as a reminder of these are the things that are represented as part of our budget. We serve everybody in our community, from our babies to our seniors, and everybody in between in a lot of different ways. So this budget really makes up of all that you're seeing up there that is service work that we do for our community. Additionally, I just wanted to share my leadership team who plays an active role in helping develop this budget. I have Michelle Bedore, our Director of Early Learning, Hillary Dish, Assistant Director of Community Ed Youth Programs, and our newest position, Christy Johnson, Assistant Director of Community Ed and Partnerships and Engagement. These three all play an active role in helping project what we're expecting for our programs, to do active listening, to determine what new programs are needed, doing the research on where we're going to go, what pricing should be, and all those details that go into running the business of Community Ed. I also want to note that Cindy Robinson, our finance specialist, plays an important role in also helping to put this budget together. So the mid-year revisions that I'm sharing here today fit into a couple different categories. On the revenue side, you'll see that overall we're projecting a decrease in revenue from 16.9 million to 16.7. I think it's important to note there that though we are projecting an end-of-year decrease, this is an overall increase of $1 million over last year. Last year, our revenue ended at 15.7 million. When we were revising or creating our budget for this year, we were optimistic that we'd hit 16.9 as we've gone through programming and found we had some less space for our preschool program, and then we had additionally hoped for. We had to reduce that down just a little bit for the year end. I'll go into a little bit more detail on those on some upcoming slides. On the expenditure side, overall, we're seeing some decreases in our salaries and benefits. Most of this is due to timing of when we've hired new staff. And again, I'll go into that more detail in coming slides. Overall, our net revenue over expenditures are expecting to be about $157,000. Our revenue sources in Community Ed are, for the most part, fee revenue. About 75% of our revenue comes from costs associated with our various programs, whether it's Wayzata Kids, Early Childhood Family Ed, preschool, and a number of other pieces. So the majority of our revenue does come from those fees. We do have about 25% that comes from state aid and local tax levy. This might be our school readiness, again, ECFE, and a variety of other programs that the state and local levies support. We also have a very small amount of grant funding. Most of that comes from our Partners for Healthy Kids partnership. As a comparison year over year, our revenue and expenses in Community Ed, you'll see have been growing over the last 10 years. We have had successful programs that I'm really proud of that also align with the growth that we're seeing in our district. So as we grow throughout Wayzata Public Schools, our Community Ed programs grow to in alignment with that piece of it. You'll note in fiscal year 2020 and 2021, there was a dip in revenue and expenses, of course, tied to the pandemic. Since then, we have really adjusted our budget to be higher on the revenue versus expenses side in an attempt to rebuild our fund balance, which you'll see in a final slide in this presentation. We are now in a place where our fund balance is healthy, and so working towards a net even budget, which we see for that fiscal year 26 revised. So a summary of the changes in revenue. The highlight is revenue remains strong. Again, I noted that we're experiencing about a $1 million increase in revenue over last year. Happy to report that the slight reduction in our budgeted over original was really due to the fact that we're hopeful that we'd have some additional preschool classrooms. Those would be available only because there'd be space in our elementary schools. And as we know with our recent referendum, there's not a lot of extra space in our elementary schools. We were lucky enough to have that over the last few years, and as that has shifted, those classrooms are now used for our K-12 or K-5 programming. So with that, we have less revenue associated with that preschool programming. Where we are seeing significant growth is in our Wayzata Kids childcare and also somewhat in our facility rentals program. I want to highlight Wayzata Kids in particular. This has been an area where we spent a lot of time really trying to meet the needs of our community in new and different ways. The need for childcare has just consistently grown since 2016, if we wanted to go back that far. And with the pandemic, there was some hits to our programming in terms of staffing and whatnot. So we've been working to rebuild that for several years now, and are really proud to share that we have increased the number of students that we're able to take into our program year over year for the last 3 years. There's a lot going on in this slide, so I don't need you to read all the details, but the overall takeaway that I want you to see is that community ed offers a wide variety of programs, and our revenue comes from a wide variety of sources. Wayzata Kids childcare, whether it's school year, summer, non-school day, is our largest source of revenue, but there are many other programs that come together to build that net $16.7 million in revenue. These are both programs that are generating revenue through fees, as well as things like state aid and levy, like the community ed levy that you see up there. I also like to point out when I'm doing our budget that we look at how revenue is generated and where programs fit in this matrix as we're developing how our budget's coming together. So in an ideal world, everything we do would be high impact and high profitability. I put Wayzata Kids childcare in that area. We're meeting our mission, we're doing really good work, and we're making some profits off of that as well. But that's not the case in education. Not everything that we do is going to generate funding. So we do have programs like our adult literacy volunteer program, which is adults that come in are supporting reading in our elementary schools. That doesn't generate any funding, but it's high impact. So it ends up in that top corner with the heart up there. We want to continue to be able to do those programs. Of course, there's a lot of high impact programs that have low or no profit that if that's all we did, we wouldn't be able to run our programs. So we look at where do these different things that we do in community ed fit across this whole spectrum of matrix. On the expenditure side, we are a service arm of the district. So the majority of our expenses are in salary and benefits, about $80,000. Even in that green wedge, which is purchase services, a lot of that is actually paying for people. In our youth programs, for example, we pay vendors and contracted folks to provide camps and classes for us, but they fall under the purchase services, but really that's people providing service to our community as well. So a quick summary of where we're at from community ed expenditures, the changes that we're seeing. There was a decrease on that slide in salary and benefits, and a lot of that was really tied to timing of hiring. We've been working really hard to continue hiring for Wayzata Kids. If you think back to that slide where you saw the increase in the number of kids we're serving, that just didn't always happen right away on September 1st. That's happened slowly throughout the year. So there's some decrease in that total cost associated with that. We also hired the new assistant director of community ed, Christy Johnson. That was a hire we had anticipated earlier in the year and ended up hiring in March, so there were some savings associated with that. We had some increases in purchase services as programs expand. We expand the cost of the materials and whatnot that goes along with it. We've also expanded our contracted services with a talent recruitment agency. This agency is helping us to hire staff for Wayzata Kids. So while there's an expense associated with that, the payoff is, of course, service to our community and some revenue. Lastly, we are contracting with a new out-of-school time training for our childcare program. As we grow, we want to also make sure that we're maintaining a high-quality program, so investing in training of all of our new staff is really critical. Lastly, there was an increase in our capital and technology expenses over what was previous budgeted, and it was really timing. We had planned to make some upgrades to some spaces that community ed heavily uses, particularly in our auditoriums. Had hoped that would come in fiscal year 25, and just purchases ended up being in fiscal year 26, so there was an adjustment there. The last thing I want to touch on is just fund balance. In community ed, we have a couple of different fund balances. The one I'm going to highlight to you is the one that's in the gray box. We do have a couple others that are restricted and tied specifically to different programs that are noted there as well. But the one I want to show you is where the bulk of community ed programming lies. We have had a history similar to what you saw with Wayzata Cafes in the fund balance chart here, where there was a dip due to the pandemic. You'll see we went in the hole about $1 million during that period of time and had to adjust our budget in terms of revenue expenses to build our way out. We are now at a place where, again, we're looking for a more net break-even budget, and so you'll see us leveling out up there. Again, similar to with Wayzata Cafes, we are really looking at having a 3-month operating reserve is there, which is about 25%, so we have a healthy fund balance right now that's above that. We do this for a number of reasons, but really to weather any kind of economic storm that might come our way. The pandemic shows what can happen to the community ed budget really quickly when there's a downturn in our economy. So having a healthy fund balance is really critical to support community ed programming as well as to protect the school district in that process. So with that, I will pause and allow questions you have.
Thank you, Jenny. Questions? Yes, Valentina.
I have one question. Wayzata Kids non-school day, would you be able to explain what is it about?
Yeah, that's internal lingo, so thank you for asking for that clarification. So on days when school is not in session, so it might be a professional learning day, a grading day, or those types of things, we offer childcare all day on those days, like over spring break, over or the winter holiday break.
So when we have these at-home learning days, parents have to pay for that childcare if they need, if they cannot do it themselves.
Yes, that is correct. Any of those days that school is not in session, we would have those non-school day childcare opportunities.
Thank you.
Yes, Alicia.
Also, Wayzata Kids, do you know about what the percentage of families you're not able to serve right now and like how that's being impacted year over year?
Yeah, that's a good question, Alicia. Over the years, we've looked carefully at how do we maintain a wait list for our childcare program. And over the last several years, we actually capped our wait list at about 200 students because we knew we were never going to be able to accept more than that off of our list. So it was really hard to gauge what the true need is in our community. If we were to keep the registration open all year long, I'm guessing that number would grow much more significantly. I'm really happy to share, though, that for this year, for this coming school year, 6 of our 9 buildings do not have wait lists as we start this school year. So that work that we're doing with the talent recruitment company, the work we're doing to retain our staff and train our staff is really helping. And we hope to be able to continue to grow that and serve more students.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And then just a final note, I mean, I do think every time I hear about community ed, and even as a resident of the community, I feel like I'm always learning about new services and, new ways to educate myself and my students. And I just think it's, like you said, it's like from babies all the way to retirement and beyond. And so you guys really touch everything, and I think you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. As we were celebrating our chess team up here, I was wondering how many of them maybe went through a chess class with us when they first started and if that sparked their interest.
Yeah.
You can go, Heidi.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that during the pandemic, the hit was not just because of a loss of fees. but it was also because community ed stepped up to the plate and took care of a lot of our frontline workers' children while they were out there fighting the pandemic. So community ed reaches far and wide when the need steps in. And so I just want to remind everybody that that's also why that we went so deep into the red.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We had all the expenses and none of the revenue, and that definitely played a part in it. But I think it says a lot about the work that we do in community ed that we can take that kind of work, go into a deficit, and rebuild out of it as quickly as we did. That ability to be creative, to listen, and to serve our community really is what enabled all of that to happen.
I never want to pass up an opportunity to mention the mountain bike team that my kids have gotten so much joy out of, which is a partnership with community ed and also a sport for our middle schoolers and high schoolers. The coaches there have done a lot of work to create a program. There's a lot of requirements that go into whether, how the sport can be part of community ed and a sport at the schools, which is, one of the more non-traditional sports that we see. And they always talk about how great it is to work with community ed. So thank you for that. And also back to Wayzata Kids. Is it correct to say now that our main limit on how many students we can take is really just space limited, and that hopefully with the referendum, we'll be able to maybe open up a few more, when it'll take some time because obviously the building has to happen and that will be several years, but.
Yeah, that is correct. Thankful for the work that we've done with this talent recruitment agency. They've helped us to streamline different processes to really bring on people more quickly. My staff has been working really hard on retention and training too, so all of those things have really helped on the staffing side of it. And so as we're able to finally be fully staffed, which hasn't happened for many years, I'm looking at Dr. Anderson because I think that was long before I was here, which was more than 8 years ago now. It feels really good to have that one solved. And then it's really what are those spaces in our schools that are available that our teachers are because our teachers are still there in their classrooms after school that we can be using to serve our kids, make sure they're still having a really fun and engaging time. Hanging out in the hallway isn't really something that a student wants to do after school, right? So we need to find those spaces that they can still have a fun, engaging experience and still meet the needs of the school building. So when we have a 10th elementary, that will make a difference in all of this.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Jenny. So we talk about Wayzata cafes and community ed fund balance not being able to transfer to general education, but I didn't realize that within community ed fund balance also there are 4 categories that are restricted, right? So I think it's on slide 14.
Yeah.
If you can open that slide, can you, just curiosity question, which of these categories have the best fund balance?
The one that I showed you is the one where we maintain the larger fund balance, because that's one where we have the most flexibility to be able to spend it in a variety of different ways. For example, early childhood family ed, there's specific ways that those funds can be used. So that's a fund balance that we want to keep low because that's really services that we want to get out into the community. Same with school readiness. Those are preschool scholarships that we provide. And so that's not an area where we want to provide or where we want to maintain a fund balance. Those are funds that we want to be out and using. Additionally, they're highly restricted as to how they can be used. And then lastly, the adult basic ed, I believe, is a balance of 0. That's really one where we're using the same amount every year that's going out.
So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories constitute that 29% fund balance, right?
Just the top category is
just
the 29.
top category. That's all that 29% is in the top category.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, the other ones are much, much, much smaller and again, restricted to really specific activities.
Interesting. Thanks. Good to know.
Dr. Soni, I can chime in. I pulled it up real quickly. So the ECFE fund balance is sitting at about $276,000. The school readiness is at $326,000, and then the restricted is at $215,000. that 464 one, if you go back to the other slide, Jenny. So, and then as Jenny mentioned, the ABE one does not have a current fund balance. So.
Okay.
And we maintain fund balances in some of those for school readiness. That's an area that, as we got VPK funding, we did build up the fund balance in school readiness slightly, where now we get to be creative and think about how do we serve our community better. So if you think back to the presentation I did at the end of March that talked about needs in our community, one of them was around transportation for our families. And so that would be a way that school readiness funds could be used for those specific students. So we're looking at what funds we have available and how do we really look at targeting our students and serving them differently.
So help me understand, if 447 is, we are really not maintaining a lot of fund balance, right? So if a time comes when we really are in trouble and we need funds for those, we can't take money from 431 either?
Within community ed, there is a little bit more flexibility. So if our ABE programming, for example, had a net negative balance at the end of the year, I could use the 431 funds to shore that one up.
Okay, so because that restricted kind of misled me, because I thought they were all restricted among themselves also.
Restricted in how we use those funds specifically, but that 431 on the top is really where we have the most flexibility.
But that money can be used for 447 if needed.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Anyone else? A question? No? Well, thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome. Thank you for the time.
Anyone need a break? Keep going? Okay, just making sure. All right, the next item on the agenda is the revised budgets for fiscal year 2025-26, and that's Trevor, right?
Yeah, so I want to thank Jack and Jen and Jenny and Michelle for doing that, and also for the board for sitting through all of those presentations. Historically, our district has not brought all of those budgets to the same meeting, but we found value in being on the same timeline and schedule and doing it all at once. And after this meeting, we'll probably start over and start working on the prelim budget for 26-27 shortly after this. So, and thanks also to the other staff members that aren't here tonight or didn't present on all those departments. So as you can see from the graphs and the information that was shared, I think all of us are very, very proud of where we're at, and the envy probably of a lot of other districts in the state. So with that, I just thought I'd bring it home, and I know everyone is sticking around if any other further questions may have come. Otherwise, the recommended action is before you, that we'd like you to approve all of those revised budgets for 25-26.
So, colleagues, the recommended action is to approve the revised budget for fiscal year 2025-26. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
Can I just take a moment to say thank you to all three of those presentations? It was phenomenal to see. We saw this both in committee and with CFAC, and I just want you to know that I had several individuals from CFAC reach out to me afterwards and say it feels good to be in this position again. So we are in a strong position. Our fund balances are healthy. It means we can do more and reach more than we could previously, and it feels good to have our wings balanced out again. It was a lot of hard work over the past 5 years, but we did it. And we did it together, and I'm excited for what comes next. So thank you all for your very, very good management of not just our money, but our resources.
Okay, if there are no other comments, again, the recommended action is to approve the revised budget for fiscal year 2025-26. This is a roll call vote.
Colleagues, Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, Trevor will now seek a resolution awarding the sale of 32,470,000 general obligation school building and alternative facilities refunding bonds, Series 2026A. Trevor.
Good evening again, Chair Sahoni, Dr. Anderson, members of the board. Thank you for bearing with a very hefty finance and operations portion of the school board meeting this month. But our district is continually working with our financial advisor, Ellers, to seek refunding opportunities of existing bonds that may result in decreased future debt service liabilities. And a few months ago, we began the process of offering bondholders of our 2021A bonds the opportunity to submit voluntary tender offers, allowing the district to repurchase those bonds at a specified price. And then at the February 9th school board meeting, the board did adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of those refunding bonds. And following that meeting, the necessary due diligence was completed in advance of the tender period, which ran from March 12th through March 25th. And then on April 1st, the district did issue refunding bonds to pay off the tendered bonds. So with me tonight, welcome, thanks for coming back, is Matthew Hammer from Ellers. He'll present the results, and Matthew's been a pretty consistent fixture at our board meetings recently, so he'll run through those and we'll open up for questions after that.
Thanks, Trevor. Good evening, Chair Sahoni, members of the board, Dr. Anderson, Matthew Hammer, the district's financial advisor. And I'm here tonight. We're almost to the finish line on a successful transaction that's poised to save about $3.1 million of future debt service levies or reduced taxes for the district's property owners. Those savings are required by law to go back to reduce future commitments for property owners in the school district. And as Trevor said, this was atypical from how a normal process would work. Typically, similar to a home mortgage, a municipality will look at issuing new bonds at lower rates that are going to then, in essence, pay off the old bonds, and you'll start paying at those lower rates. In this case, the district issued bonds back in 2021 that had to be taxable at the time. So if you think of the presentations earlier, when the financial situations, the financial markets were stressed, at that point in time, interest rates were really low, and the school district was able to maximize and issue taxable bonds because you couldn't issue tax exempt because you were too far away from the call date. You had to issue taxable bonds, but taxable rates were low enough at that time that the district was able to create debt service savings on the bonds that were issued back in 2014. And that rate at the time was an average rate of about 1.8%. So the district saved about $13 million on those bonds at that time. Those rates are low, and just the economics of the market conditions where we're at now and the inverse relationships between interest rates and bond prices. The interest rates were low at the time, and as interest rates rise, bond prices decrease. And that's really what we were able to leverage in this case. We offered bondholders a repurchase price that we repurchased those bonds at a discount to what we would otherwise had to pay for them. So if you look at the different bonds, we had bonds out through 2036. For the most part, we were paying about 85 cents or less on a dollar to repay for the bonds that were outstanding. So the participation that we received, as Trevor said, we put out a voluntary tender invitation, and we had 38% of the bondholders take us up on that participation. That's about $40 million of par amount of those outstanding bonds. And to repurchase those, we only had to sell about $35 million in tax-exempt refunding bonds. So that's the bonds that you have in front of you tonight. We did receive a reoffering premium, so the par amount is a little bit north of 32 million, almost 32 and a half. But as we account for the premium that we received, that gets us to that $35 million. And the interest rate on the tax-exempt bonds were 3.2% was the rate that we paid. But the net of that discount that we were able to repurchase was the $3.1 million that we're going to end up saving as part of this transaction. So that the bonds are priced back on April 1st. The action before us tonight is to ratify the award of that sale that we had, and then we're planning to close on the new bonds, start paying on the new rates, and then pay off those bondholders on April 30th simultaneously. So the net effect's going to be $3.1 million of savings. So I we'll just give kudos to Trevor and his staff. There's a lot involved in this process, right? You have to go through rating, you have to provide information out to the markets. So over this period of time, we've had lots of meetings, lots of interactions with the underwriter in this case. But the net result is that we're going to have a very successful transaction. And it's not in necessarily a typical way, but it's a way that we're able to generate savings that's going to be meaningful for the district's taxpayers as we move forward. So with that, I can answer any questions folks have in regards to the process or any of the details.
Let me read the recommendation, the motion itself, and then during the discussion, we can ask questions. So colleagues, the recommended action is to adopt the ratifying resolution awarding the sale of $32,470,000 in general obligation school building and alternative facilities refunding bonds, Series 2026A. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now we can have a discussion. If you have any questions for Matthew or feel free.
I might, I'm going to have one more comment. I just want to illustrate, it was probably hidden a little bit with what Matt had said, but these original bonds, they were refunded in 2021, Series 2021A, but that was a refunding of bonds from 2014. So when they were refunded in 2021, we saved taxpayers $13 million on those bonds at that time. When we are saving another $3.1 million this time around. And these bonds will be callable should an opportunity present itself in future years to even lower that interest rate again. So this would be really unique where you would see 3 rounds of refunding to continue. It's just important just to illustrate that that's constantly what we're doing to look out for the best interest of the district and our taxpayers. So.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you for looking out for our community and, saving money for us. At the same time, we're not reducing anything that we're offering to students. I mean, that's really big. And thank you for all the work that you put into that. I have a question about how this will impact taxpayers. I know it's kind of evened out over time. And so what will it look like? What will taxpayers see when they're seeing their statements?
Yeah, it's going to be incorporated into the overall plan for the voter approved plan. So in the long term, right, there's savings that those $3.1 million are no longer commitments to the district. But over time, right, as we look at the structuring of the new referendum bonds, they're going to be incorporated into that overall structure, which will allow us to mitigate cost over time.
So thank you, Trevor. You answered one of my questions because I know we talked about it in other meetings, but I was going to ask you to kind of reiterate that, so you did that. So that's great. The only other question I have is, I know there was a cost associated with the whole transaction. So the 3.1 million profit, so to speak, that's
net
accounting net, right? Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
I have one other thing I just kind of want to raise up. Can you remind us what we were anticipating the participation was going to be?
Yeah, we didn't 100% know, right? Because this is voluntary in nature. So we had estimated between at RAND levels of 20 to 30% uniform participation. We had participation in certain areas, right? And the areas that we ended up with that participation happened to be in the areas of the issue that generated the most discount for us on the repurchase. So they were in the good areas across the years of the term of the bonds that were outstanding. So at that time, we were estimating anywhere between 1 and about 1.8 million. So we were able to double that estimated savings from what we had shared with the board back when we talked about this in February.
Yep. So even if had we only earned that 1.8 or saved that 1.8, it would have been well worth it, but this is outstanding.
Yes.
You have a question? Okay, so thank you. Parash asked my question actually. So the net 3.1 million is net after all expenses.
Yes, that's correct.
Good. I think this is a great deal, and if what we had envisioned had not happened, there would not have been loss, right, of anything. We would just not save that 3.1 million. Okay. So thank you again. Thank you both for presenting that. And we have to go back to the motion, which was to adopt the ratifying resolution awarding the sale of 32,470,000 general obligation school building and alternative facilities refunding bond series 2026A. That's a mouthful. This is a roll call vote.
Thank you, colleagues. Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan, and congratulations for doing a great job. Okay, and then the final item on the finance agenda is where Trevor will ask the board to approve the Hamel Road property purchase agreement. Trevor, could you please tell us about the agreement?
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick little, I guess, reminder to the board and to the public that the district does own property in Medina. That now it's a little easier to talk about it after last week, but it is the location to which we are planning to construct new school facilities. And it's a little unique that on that property, there's our property actually surrounds a residential property. A unique opportunity has been presented to the school district that we have been offered. That property has been up for sale, and the sellers of that property reached out to us as it makes sense for both parties if that was a transaction that would be of interest to us, which kind of a no-brainer that it is. It just makes a lot of sense. And I think what's really, really unique about this property, I think it's amazing how it worked out, where there is actually an old schoolhouse on this property. So it'll be interesting to see how the architects might weave that into our long-range planning out on that site, but kind of come a full circle there. So the purchase agreement before you asks for us to purchase this property at a closing price of $325,000. The lot is about a 0.6 acres lot. And the 2026 assessed value was right around $268,000. Also part of this, it's kind of a longer winded motion or I guess recommended action. And with that is the current owners of the property would wish to remain in the property for a limited amount of time. So part of this purchase agreement is also a post-closing occupancy agreement where we will allow the current residents to remain in the property until December 31st, 2026 or earlier if they are able to find another place to go for that. So with nothing happening probably on that site for a little while, or certainly not to the extent where we would need to vacate that property, we thought that was a fair solution and have no problem doing that. So with that, certainly answer any questions when it comes to. Otherwise, the recommended action to purchase this property is before you.
Okay, thank you, Trevor. So the recommended action, colleagues, is to approve the purchase of the Hamel Road property pursuant the terms and conditions outlined in the purchase agreement and the post-closing occupancy agreement. Is there a motion?
I so move.
A second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, any questions for Trevor? Hearing none, we will go ahead and have the roll call.
Colleagues, Alicia Little,
Yes.
Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Milan Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, Dan. Again, thank you, Trevor, for all the work that you have done, and your colleagues and your staff, and also Ehlers and everybody else, CFAC also. Please thank them from us. Okay, final item of the night. Admin Assistant Amy Geis, in her role as the district's election clerk, will present a resolution relating to canvassing returns of the special election that was held on April 14th. Amy.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Anderson. I know we're very excited to cover this, and while I don't enjoy personal accolades, I do enjoy giving credit to those that have earned it. So I just want to take a second to acknowledge the 9-month process of getting geared up for the election that took place on April 14th. A few people. Specifically, the absentee election judges. There are 3 of them that I have worked with for the last 3 school board elections. They're phenomenal people, so thank you, Karen, thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Marcus. I know that they're watching. Also, someone that really stepped up, the Welcome Center as a whole, but specifically Jonathan Blight, I know he's watching. Thank you. We could not have done it without you, especially the Saturday when we had over 700 voters that went through. And then finally, a shout out to Hennepin County. I had no idea how good I had it until I heard from my colleagues throughout the state at their county's lack of support. And I have had nothing but support from Hennepin County. So thank you to those election folks. I would be remiss, this wasn't necessarily on my behalf, but Amy Parnell is not here to thank them. So Amy Parnell and her team, again, it was about 9 months getting ready for this election, and I truly don't think it would have passed, certainly not by the percentage it did without her and her communications team. Dr. Anderson, I did add it up. You did 34 presentations on behalf of the referendum, spoke with countless voters and citizens that requested more information. So thank you for that. Also on that behalf, Dana, Trevor, and Wade, they did an amazing job both with presentations and with one-on-one contact and email answering for voters with questions. So thank you for that. The referendum site team members, Amy did an amazing job again with those folks, but each of our locations, each of our buildings had a lot of people out there helping to push voters to get to the polls. So thank you to them. And finally, the Yes Committee. Again, while I had absolutely nothing to do with them directly in my position, they were quite effective. And I know some of the board members did that. Thank you very much for your contributions, and those out in the community watching. We really appreciate it. Okay, I think I caught everyone, hopefully. So the recommended action before you is to approve the resolution canvassing the return of votes for the district special election. As you know, that was held on last Tuesday. We're almost a week out. Question 1 passed with over 78%. Question 2 passed with over 70%. And question 3 passed with over 60%. And I know specifically a couple of you board members like numbers. At 7 a.m. on election morning, we had 50,896 registered voters. And not everyone voted on each question. However, the average was about 8,020 voters. So that puts us at just right at 16% voter turnout. I know that Amy Parnell and her team were hoping to be at about 5,000 to 6,000 voters, and we cleared 8,000 voters. So, any questions?
Thank you, Amy. So let me read the recommended action again. It is to approve the resolution canvassing return of votes of the district special election. Is there a motion?
I move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Now we can ask Amy questions if we have any.
I'm going to make a comment. Wowza. Like on so many levels, at every corner, every single days of those 9 months, and the planning that went in ahead of it. This middle school and the elementary school have been in the works as far as I can remember. I mean, it was like 2019, really, when we started thinking about that, when the land was purchased, and the CFAC community members that were a part of that and helped that happen. This community is incredible to be a part of. Not every district has referendums that get passed. So we are very fortunate to live in a place where our values and our resources are able to align in the way that they do. And I'm just really proud of our community. We pass our referendums. We do it because we put our money where our mouth is. And I'm really proud of us, just really, really proud of us. So congratulations. You did a great job thanking everybody. I just want to say congratulations to everybody, to our entire community, because this builds us up even further. And public education is an incredible model when the community invests in it. So thank you to everybody and congratulations.
I just wanted to make a comment for anybody listening at home. I want to thank the voters and say congratulations to our community, and thank you for having faith in the school district. I believe our school district is an excellent steward of all of your tax dollars, and they do what's right for our students. And thank you for coming out and voting and showing your support for the district.
Yeah, Alicia.
Just one more final comment. Being in this position, I've always loved to talk to my neighbors and people in the community, but it felt really good to really believe in this and feel like any conversation I got in where someone maybe had some concerns or questions, it was a really easy lift to be able to explain the rationale behind this, how much this is going to touch every building in our district. This is going to really improve life for every resident in our district, I strongly believe. And I will also say, doing some outreach at the high school with voter registration, I was so impressed how many of our high school students even knew about it, which is phenomenal, because I don't think I would have thought about a referendum when I was in high school. So kudos to all the parents out there who are clearly having conversations and getting civically engaged with their students. And thank you again.
All right, if there are no other comments, I'm going to read the action again. Recommended action is to approve the resolution canvassing return of votes of the district's special election. This is a roll call vote.
Colleagues, Paris Bendy,
Yes.
Sheila Pryor,
Yes.
Heidi Cater,
Yes.
Valentina Ayers,
Yes.
Dan Ginestra. Dan Ginestra votes yes. Alicia Little,
Yes.
Millen Sahoni.
Yes, the motion carries, and thank you, Dan. Okay, I think we are done here. There are no human resource services reports. There are no there is no board action this evening, and there are no board reports this evening. This concludes the Wayzata Public Schools regular board meeting. The next board work session will be on Monday, a week from today, April 27th at 4 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The time is now 9:28. The Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Monday, April 20th, 2026 is adjourned.
Was it 9:28 or 9:27? Okay.